Hey kids, Flexing Teacher Weber here. I hope you're having a good day. We have now done two kinds of two-step equations. We're going to review those two-step equations today. So the first kind we did was where you have a multiply, then plus or minus a number. And so whenever you're solving these ones, you always do the reverse of order of operations. So in this one, negative 4x minus 7 equals 21. I want to start off with the minus 7, and I want to do the opposite of that to simplify it and make it 0. That's plus 7. And I'll do the same thing to the other side. This cancels out, and I'm left with negative 4x equals 28. Now I'm left with a multiplication beside the variable, so I simplify it by dividing both sides by negative 4. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is positive 1x. 28 divided by negative 4 is negative 7. So x is equal to negative 7. Then the check. For the check, I want to write down the original equation. Negative 4x minus 7 equals 21. I'm going to substitute in negative 7 for x. So this is negative 4 times negative 7 minus 7 equals 21. Negative 4 times negative 7 is positive 28. Minus 7 equals 21. 21 equals 21. Both sides of the equation are the same. We are good. The next kind of equation we did was where you have a divide, then plus or minus a number. So same thing as before. You do the opposite of BEDMAS. You start with the add, and you do the opposite of the add, which is the opposite of plus 5 is minus 5. And you do that to both sides of the equal sign. This goes away, and I'm left with x divided by negative 3 equals negative 3 and negative 5 make negative 8. And I'm left with a multiplication equation. To solve it, I multiply this side of the equation by negative 3, do the same thing over here. Negative 3 divided by negative 3 gives me positive 1x, and negative 8 times negative 3 is positive 24, or x is equal to 24. The check. X divided by negative 3 plus 5 equals negative 3. Substitute in 24 for x. Divide by negative 3 plus 5 equals negative 3. 24 divided by negative 3 is negative 8. Plus 5 equals negative 3. And that is true. Both sides of the equation are the same. Now let's review a couple of variations on that. Sometimes the variable and the constant can be flipped. So in this one, I have negative 6 minus 6y equals 24. I want to start with the add subtract that's beside the variable. In this case, I have a minus 6. To solve this, I'll add 6. And I'll do the same thing there. Now this goes away, and check out what I have left. I don't just have a 6y, I have a negative 6 multiplied by y equals 30. And since this is multiplied by negative 6, I'm going to simplify it by dividing by negative 6. Negative 6 divided by negative 6 is positive 1y, and 30 divided by negative 6 is negative 5. Or y equals negative 5. And then we'll check it. Negative 6 minus 6y equals 24. Minus 6 times negative 5 equals 24. we have to do this multiply first. Well, if I do negative 6 and then negative 6 times negative 5 is positive 30 equals 24. So 24 equals 24. Everything checks out. Okay, last one we'll do, check this out. This is 3 minus x over 2 equals 4. So I have a divide. There's a minus in front of the divide, but this is a plus 3. So I'm going to start solving it by minus 3 to both sides. That goes away, and I'm not just left with an x divided by 2, I'm left with a x over 2, and there's a negative sign in front, equals 1. Now this negative sign can go either with the x or with the 2, but it's easier to leave it with the 2. So this is x divided by negative 2. I'm going to solve it by multiplying by negative 2. And do the same thing to the other side. Negative 2 divided by negative 2 is positive 1x, and 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. So x is negative 2. Now the check. Three minus negative 2 over 2 equals 4. I've got to do this divide first. So 3 minus negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1 equals 4. This is like an add, right? 3 plus 1 equals 4. 4 equals 4. There you go. Everything checks out. That's a sampling of some of the two-step equations we've solved so far. Now, we also have done some word problems where we have to translate the problem into English, or the English into algebra. So let's check this out. It says Natasha has a collection of CDs and DVDs. The number of CDs is 10 fewer than 5 times the number of DVDs. Natasha has 25 CDs. How many DVDs does she have? Try to write and solve an equation in the form of AX plus or minus equals C. So I've given you a hint here. The equation is going to look like this. It's going to be some number multiplied by X plus or minus another number equals another number. So the first thing is to identify our unknown. And the unknown is how many DVDs Natasha has. So let X equal DVDs. And now we want to go in the equation, or go in the word problem and try to translate the words and numbers into symbols and numbers. So it says Natasha has a collection of CDs and DVDs. Okay, nothing big there. The number of CDs. Well, look at this. We know she has 25 CDs. So the number of CDs, that's 25. Is often means equals. So the CDs, 25 equals 10 fewer than. Fewer than often means minus. 5 times the number of DVDs. Well, we have already said when we see DVDs, that's going to be X. So when you see DVDs, think X. That's 5 times X. So 10 fewer than 5 times X. Well, 5 times X, but 10 fewer than that. 5X minus 10. We might be more familiar with it looking like this. And now it looks like it's in that form. A times some number, in this case it's minus another number, equals a third number. The solving it now, we're probably pretty good at. Plus 10, plus 10. This goes away. We have 5x equals 35. 5 multiplied by x, divide by 5, divide by 5. 1x equals 7. or x equals 7. Go back to the beginning. X was DVDs. Natasha has 7 DVDs. So that's the challenge, is to try to take the English and translate it into algebra. Let's do one more word problem. Number 6. The number of known moons that Neptune has is 2 more than 1/3 the number of known moons Saturn has. I guess planets can have hidden moons we don't know about. Neptune has 8 known moons. How many known moons does Saturn have? A lot of mooning going on over here. Okay. So the number of known moons that Neptune, I read it already. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is identify the unknown. And the unknown is let x equal Saturn. In this case, Saturn's moons. But we try to keep this short. So everywhere you see Saturn in the problem, think x. And now let's try to translate these English words into algebra numbers and symbols. The number of known moons that Neptune has. Okay, Neptune, it says in the problem, has 8 known moons. So we can write 8 there, and that's how we can start. 8. Is. Well, is often means equals. So let's write equals. 2 more than. More than usually means plus. 1/3 the number of known moons that Saturn has. And we said Saturn is x. So 1/3 of x. Well, a simpler way of saying 1/3 of x is x divided by 3. And it also says 2 more than that, right? So 2 more than x divided by 3. And there's your math equation. Now, to look more like in this form, we would write it as x over 3 plus 2 equals 8. And now to solve it, you do the reverse of BEDMAS, minus 2 minus 2. You get x divided by 3 equals 6 times 3 times 3. This divides to 1x, and 6 times 3 is 18, or x is equal to 18. How many known moons does Saturn have? Saturn has 18 known moons. However, I made this problem a few years ago, and I'm wondering if astronomers have discovered more moons on Saturn. So for you astronomers out there, don't at me if Saturn has more known moons. That could be true now. But for this particular algebra question, that is the correct statement. So that's the kind of stuff you have to know for solving two-step equations. And I'm going to give you a review assignment today that also has a couple of these problems on it. So I hope that helps. That's all for now. Flexing Teacher Weber, out.